A couple months ago, my grandfather passed away, and he didn't know as a Presbyterian minister. So I asked his wife if I could have his soul, and so I could pray them when I preach, because he was not here in person to hear me, but I know he's here. So, okay, sometime at the end of my junior year, amidst the banquets, the final concerts, officer elections, and the 2011 graduation, a little voice found its way into my head, and it would say, "Kayla, it's your senior year." Wait. Okay, so that means you need to start planning for college, applications, scholarships, auditions, finding a major, emailing directors. Oh, also, you need to email the choir parents about that event and organize those fundraisers, and, assign a date to that officer meeting. And you also need to get a job, raise your GPA, and take the SAT, and then take it again. And do college visits, and make sure these things don't distract you from your schoolwork, and so on, and so on, and so on. This would play over and over, and it wouldn't stop until I was updating choir groups, balancing SAT books on top of my head, and calling schools about setting up auditions. I've never been so scared about my future, and I had no clue how to fix it. As the summer continued, so did the anxiety. I was so relieved when it was time to go to Synod, because I knew I would finally be distracted enough to forget about those worries, if only for a week. At Synod, for those of you who haven't been here when we talk about it, at least every month, you are separated from your church friends almost immediately, and you're put into a small group of people you've never met before, with whom you live, eat, and worship with. Every part of your comfort zone is demolished, and all you're left with is your suitcase and whatever faith you brought with you. And it's not as scary as it sounds, trust me. It's like an adventure. And when you come out, those people in your small group are like your second family. I would soon find out that this synod wasn't going to be like any other I'd attended before. Usually during the first few small group meetings, you play name games, get to know you games, or you just sit down and talk about both your likes and dislikes. Our group, however, was different. During what I think was our third small group meeting, our small group leader pulled out blindfolds and told us we were going on a trust walk. We had all pulled names out of a hat, and those were the people we were going to be leading and following for the next hour or so around campus. I found myself paired with John, a youth from Midland, Texas. Our only previous conversation involved me asking him to pass the salt, and he telling me there wasn't anyone. That was it. Of course, ladies first. I took the blindfold and reluctantly put it on. There I stood in the darkness and was startled when I heard John's voice say, "Okay, walk forward." Now let me just say, for those of you who have never been on a trust walk or without your vision for any extended period of time, you become very lost very quickly. I couldn't tell if I was even walking in a straight line for most of the time. It also didn't help that I'm directionally dyslexic, or the fact that our group's room was on the second floor of the building. Try walking down 2 flights of stairs with a blindfold on all the time. The rail becomes your best friend pretty quickly, let me tell you. By the time I made it outside, I was very frustrated and flustered and stressed out, and I'd only been walking for about 3 minutes. But in those 3 minutes, I had fallen down the stairs, at least twice, ran into 3 walls, and stubbed my toe on the door leading outside. But all John could say was, "Keep going, you're okay." Needless to say, I was starting to lose faith in John's leading skills. But in the synod spirit, I kept going. After tripping off the sidewalk a few times, I heard something that made my heart start to beat faster. Pause. I didn't say anything at first because surely John wouldn't lead me into the street. I was wrong. As I started to realize he wasn't just trying to mess with me, I stopped in my tracks and I yelled, "Okay, John, no, I've been following you and doing everything you directed me to do, but I'm not letting you lead me into traffic. I've fallen what feels like 50 times. How am I supposed to know I won't run into a car or vice versa? No, John, this is too scary." And then John interrupted me. "Kayla, stop." His outburst kind of threw me off a little bit. "Kayla, why are you so scared? I've been beside you you this entire time, telling me what to do and when to do it. Even though you can't see where I'm taking you or where the next bump in the road is, you have to relax and trust that I'm right here. And that I'm leading you in the right direction. Sure, you've fallen a few times and hit a few walls, but I've been there to help you up and brush off your shoulders each time. You have to trust I'm going to keep you safe and that I'm not going to lead you into harm's way. Trust me. I can't promise you won't have a few bruises tomorrow, but I can promise that I will lead you back to that room safely. You can do this. I took a deep breath and I kept walking. I heard the cars honk as I passed them on the crosswalk, probably getting a good laugh at the blindfolded girl stumbling across the street. And just as John promised me, we made it back to the group room safely. What John said to me that day has stuck with me and eventually replaced that voice of worry that was nesting in the back of my head. God was working through John that day to tell me that I'm not alone, and I never have been. Even when I was lost in applications, choir events, and SAT prep, God was right there saying, keep going, you're okay, I'm right here, trust me, you can do this. That even though I can't clearly see how his plan is going to unveil in the future, I have to trust that he knows what he's doing. God told me through John that day that no matter how many times I fell off his path, he would always help me back up, brush off my shoulders, and point me in the right direction. So now, my senior year is coming to a close. I graduate in 3 weeks. I'm wrapping up my duties as choir president, and my SAT scores got me accepted into my future school. And I also got their top local scholarship. Now, I'm not going to pretend that everything was easy and wonderful after this happened to me. It was still extremely difficult and stressful at times. But knowing that God's plan for me was right and true, and that he was with me every step of the way, definitely made things easier to handle. As Drew read earlier from Proverbs, trust God from the bottom of your heart. Don't try to figure out everything on your own. Listen for God's voice in everything you do, everywhere we go. He is the one who will keep you on track. Don't assume you